Maha Faisal and this is Wireless by the LUMS Entrepreneurial Society, powered by Rode Microphones. A special thank you to Radio LUMS for letting us use their amazing space. Hello everyone, in today's episode we will be featuring the dynamic entrepreneur, CEO and co-founder of Daftar Khan with us, Mr. Saad Idrees. Please welcome Mr. Saad. How are you, Mr. Saad?
I'm okay. Thank you so much for that kind introduction.
Are you excited to be here today?
Extremely excited. Looking forward to it.
Okay, it is an absolute honor to have you here. So before we begin, could you give a small introduction about yourself to our viewers?
Sure. So, my name's Saad, as you said, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Daftar Khan. I graduated from this place, LUMS, in 2011 with a degree in computer science. It was very useful, but could have done something else as well, because, haven't done anything very computer sciencey in the long run. But started my career squarely in that field as a data scientist. Worked for a few years with an international MNC that was working on data science, working on warehousing, data warehousing, BI, etc. So that was a very interesting experience. But over time, it was a very interesting kind of a journey that evolved from pure corporate into the development sector in terms of kind of using technology to improve governance and service delivery. So that was a very interesting experience because we were working with a brilliant bunch of people. I think almost all of them, LUMS grads as well, plus minus one batch. And everyone working on the ground with different districts and departments in kind of infusing technology and data and dashboards to kind of, control and help out on the decision-making front. So that was a very interesting experience as well. और फिर करते कराते reconnected with an old batchmate who's working in the startup ecosystem. Started working with her on that a little bit. So at that point we just kind of pinpointed a problem which we thought we could solve. And hence we kind of envisioned Daftar Khan, and now it's 7 years later and here we are.
Yeah, I can see. So I've seen that you have had a very long journey, and I'm sure it's been a huge learning curve for you.
Yeah.
So walk us through what inspired Daftar Khan? What made you think that this is the problem that really needs to be solved, and how you envisioned Daftar Khan and how it actually came to be?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, the story or there's no eureka moment. There's no oh my God, I just woke up in the middle of the night one fine day or night or whatever and came up with this idea. It was a very gradual kind of here's a problem that some people are facing and this is easily solvable. So at that
proper
point,
वो business model type के ये problem ये solution इस तरह का.
not even that. So बड़ा organic सा था. It wasn't what's a big opportunity that we can solve and what is the market size or वो strategy or SWOT करके आप उसके अंदर चले जाएं. उस तरह का भी नहीं था. Basically this was back in 2016. 2014 actually is when we started thinking about this idea and started scoping different sites. 2016 में हमने actually we opened doors on our first location. उस वक्त हो ये रहा था कि there were a bunch of these incubators and accelerators in Lahore, in Karachi, also some activity happening in Islamabad, Pindi. और there was incubators थे जो कि government funded भी थे, university funded भी थे. And they were trying to kind of build and lay the foundations for the startup ecosystem. Lekin udhar se a lot of startups were graduating, but they didn't really have that next step in the value chain. And that next step for us was ke infrastructure chahiye logon ko, because by the time they graduate from these programs, they already know what they're looking to do. They have some idea on business model kya hona chahiye. But what they don't have is a lot of capital on day one to get started and set up an office and start hiring a team and get customers and investors, वगैरह. So basically we saw that as this is a cash flow problem कि जो कि हम हल कर सकते हैं by making it a little easier. So these guys are going to go on and they'll do their business, but and so eventually the whole thing kind of evens out. Like in day one ke upar they can't go out and splurge a bunch of money. So that was the problem that we were solving for. Lekin the thing at the root of it which kind of drove that idea and made it, exciting and kind of shiny, at least for us. And that has also kind of helped, kind of be the true north in our journey in terms of how we want to grow and where we want to grow and how, what do we want to exactly do, was building this kind of a space in space, but also like, an intellectual space, an emotional space.
Yeah, just not the location, but providing more than that.
Exactly, more than that. So, and you kind of, you're almost there with our tagline as well, which we say it's more than just an office. But the idea was कि जो founders or entrepreneurs की or innovators की or anyone who's doing something different or something new, their journeys tend to be interesting, but also fraught with a lot of struggle. It tends to be extremely isolating as well. It tends to extremely like bipolarity.
It's like very challenging, the whole thing.
Yeah. So what we really wanted to do was build this community around these people who are out to change the world or out to do something good or something interesting, ताकि they have something to call their home base, which they can go back to and feel like they belong. And that was the idea, on day zero practically. And even now, as Daftar Khan is growing and going
it's
on to
expanding,
more
I've
locations,
seen.
so we've just launched our 8th location now in Pindi right now. And so the larger, regardless of how large the site becomes, you see that vision or that primary motivation of why we started, like front and center whenever you walk into one of our sites. That's how we design them. That's how we lay out the different components of the space. That's how we design the experience around them. That's how we, kind of work with people, engage different people from within the ecosystem and within the community. So yeah, that was the key motivation of why we started.
Yeah, that seems like a very important thing, because startups के लिए location is one of the most hardest things to do. And I've seen like ever since Daftar Khan, उसके बाद there's a rise in the co-working space. Like there's collabs and so many other businesses that are actually starting the same concept as yours. So where do you think that this industry can go? Like, what is its future? So how do you think that it's going to expand in the future, basically?
Yeah, so basically, again, that's... it's like every different business is like every different human being. Like, there's a bunch of them, but no two are completely alike.
Yeah.
और उसकी वजह यही है कि everyone has a different set of dreams, ambitions, things they want to do, things they want to achieve. And that really, really begins to show as you grow your business. And you can pick up any brand, any product, any space, any service. Even if you come across a bunch of these management consulting firms, you go to McKinsey, Bain, BCG, whoever, उनका जो vision है ना, या उनकी जो primary motivations हैं, वो आपको exactly, और वो आपको you can feel it, and sometimes you can put a finger on it, sometimes you can articulate it, sometimes you can put it in an Excel file and do a comparative analysis, and sometimes you can't, but there's always like a bunch of these distinctions that also manifest themselves in different ways. They manifest themselves in terms of again, like when someone walks into a Daftar Khan or someone walks into a WeWork or a Regis or somewhere else, what do they feel? How, what do they kind of experience? What are the sights and sounds or wo sab kuch? But also, it's also a matter of like what sort of a strategic direction do they take? Are they growth first? Are they community first? Or that kind of leads you towards all sorts of different roads and trajectories, and some good, most bad. But so yeah, so वो बड़ी एक मज़ेदार चीज़ है कि like we were one of the first ones that started the whole co-working thing in Pakistan, and a bunch of us kind of started around the same time. लेकिन उसके बाद से now there's so many more, and there's still room for a lot more as well. And all of them are just unique, and all of them are different. So I think there's a place for everybody.
Okay, that's like one of the good things I see. For the co-working, it has a like very like, there's a lot of growth for growth, and there's a lot of potential in what they can provide startups. So like Daftar Khan is like your own startup. So I'm sure like I said before, that it's been a learning curve.
Yeah.
So if you could give your younger self who was starting out some advice about startups or this particular industry, what would it be?
Oh man, that's such a loaded question.
Like, you've learned a lot of stuff, you've made mistakes and everything, so any one thing that you would like tell your younger self, just don't do this.
Yeah, I think we made a lot of pretty heavy mistakes very early on, which was great, because when you're early to make all of these different types of mistakes, you can learn from them and move on, because like the later you kind of approach it or try to fix it, so the harder it becomes.
Yeah.
But I think like one key thing was I think initially we should have structured the whole thing. So structure the company, do the boring stuff with a little more attention and a little more, थोड़ा सा conscientiously. क्योंकि शुरू में ना ये होता है, you're on that like passion high where you feel like यार ये करना है और ये ज़बरदस्त है, कितना fit होगा ना, और अगला भी कहता है हाँ कितना fit होगा ना, and you just kind of gloss over the
fine details,
and
you just don't want to do the boring stuff, you just want to go straight to like the big stuff.
काम करते हैं, मज़ेदार चीज़ें करते हैं वगैरह वगैरह. So I think that's extremely important, to just kind of take a moment to think about the fundamentals, think about the conventional wisdom. So for example, like one thing that we really learnt was developing relationships with different people or different players within the business or even outside the business, वो करने से पहले जो है ना, वो there has to be some sort of structuring, और उसके लिए conventions वगैरह already exist करते हैं जो कि आपको follow करने चाहिए. So when you talk to a friend or when you talk to a partner or you talk to an investor or whoever about stuff like paperwork, or you talk to them about stuff like vesting schedules, कि इन्वेस्टमेंट में जो है वो वेस्टिंग होनी चाहिए या इक्विटी में वेस्टिंग होनी चाहिए और इस तरह की चीज़ें. सो everyone should be open to that idea, because वो ये है कि like we've seen over the years, not just with ourselves but also with a bunch of other people, like people falling apart, partnerships falling apart, businesses falling apart as well, because people were just like यार we're not going to broach this subject initially क्योंकि मेरा तो दोस्त है, और हम लोग तो देखो ना कितने पैशनेट हैं इस आइडिया के बारे में. So but that's a very important question to have, and so if you're willing to have it, that also shows a lot of maturity, which obviously we didn't have.
Like basically to like approach the tough questions.
Yeah.
You shouldn't like के हो जाएगा, बाद में हो जाएगा.
Exactly.
You need to be brave enough to like do it के अभी होना है, करना है.
और वो conventional wisdom जो है ना is conventional wisdom for a reason. Like it's time tested, and at the end of the day, regardless of whether you're doing a startup or if you're doing a social project or if you're doing a side gig or a passion project या जो भी, it's still business, right? There has to be some sort of a value creation, value addition. So you always have to kind of approach things in that way. कि boring चीज़ें आएंगी, operational चीज़ें आएंगी, and you have to do them, because without them you don't exist. This whole thing doesn't exist, and it's not designed for longevity or sustainability. And if it's not designed for longevity, so what are you going to do?
I mean that is true, क्योंकि ये purpose होता है कि it should like stay, you have something to like hope for, और मतलब growth के लिए, ठीक है. तो I mean if it doesn't do that, तो फिर you're setting yourself up for failure. Yeah, ठीक है. So okay, one more serious question, then we go to the fun part.
Oh man, okay.
ठीक है. Okay, the one question I had was, like you mentioned that you were a CS major at LUMS, ठीक है. So how did like being in LUMS help you? Like you mentioned your CS experience did not like count towards like being in LUMS. Did it help you foster that network or those like relationships with people or that knowledge? How did it help you in your life ahead, and particularly Daftar Kwan?
Yeah. I was kidding, by the way. So the CS thing did obviously help me a lot, because it kind of really set me up for the trajectory that we're in, and even the new stuff that we're doing, usme like it plays a big part. So in case Dr. Fareed Zafar and all of these guys are listening, I didn't mean it, and I'm sorry. And please don't take my grades away from me. So not that they were good to begin with, but we digress. So anyhow, I think the big thing that really kind of helped us and not just in this particular journey, but any journey that you become a part of, or any initiative, or जो भी आप करने की कोशिश करते हो. I think LUMS की वजह से what played a big part was the network, naturally, as you said. लेकिन I think like working with societies here as well taught us to deal with big teams, taught us to deal with a lot of pressure, taught us to deal with management.
But like societies have been a big part of my time at LUM. I've been in LES for like 3 years and it has helped me in so many ways. Like I'm sitting here interviewing you and I don't think I could have done that without like LUMS and LES.
Sure, so it opens you up to a lot of like
opportunities, people and
exposure. So I think that's been a big part, and obviously because I was very engaged with the debating society while I was here as well. So there was a lot of international exposure उसकी वजह से. फिर society में जब होते हैं तो politics होती है, वो भी आप society में हैं तो I'm sure you can understand.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, of course not. लेकिन I think जो सबसे important चीज़ है ना, which I really kind of realized when I went out into the job market, वो ये था कि maybe it's a combination of the two, society work, but also I feel like कि जो cultural inclusion plus liberal arts का जो एक बहुत बड़ा component है ना in the LUMS degree, I think that really kind of sets you up intellectually to be able to think on a much broader horizon. And this again, like you'll see this as well. Like I've seen this up close and personal. Like I've worked with so many people, still continue to work with so many people who are way smarter than I am, right? And लेकिन वो ये है कि in a lot of cases I've also seen कि people are much smarter, लेकिन the way that they're thinking about things, the vision and the horizon,
they don't have the same approach
exactly
to things.
वो थोड़ा सा जो है ना वो it tends to be a little stunted sometimes,
limited
limited थोड़ा सा कभी कभार होता है, और उसकी वजह से that means so much, because वो ये है कि like the bigger you can think sometimes, the more possibilities and potential वगैरह you have and that you can realize, right? So I feel like that has been for me as a LUMS grad, or I think that continues to be like a trademark trait, and I've seen this across different majors as well. Like I've seen this science wali side pe bhi, computer science wali side pe bhi, business, MBA, all of these grads as well. But people who work in societies or have spent a lot of time with societies, but also people who haven't really dabbled a lot in co-curriculars vagera at LUMS, and they also kind of graduate. So I feel like that's also baked into the curriculum, and that's also baked into the culture, where people are just going out there and they can just think broader, or tolerate more thoughts, without saying ho hi, and that allows them to be more, do more, and generate more value.
Okay, that makes sense. Because abhi like we're part of the media department, so I am literally an accounting and finance major. Ek bio hai, ek CS hai, so like we just have a lot of people who like love doing like media work, and that I think that's one of the important things to do. Like you have so much exposure to things that are not really related to your degree, and that like really sets you up for the future. Okay, so now we shall move on to the rapid fire. Okay, you have to say like the first thing in your mind, okay, or the very short answer. Okay, you don't have time to think on this.
I don't do short answers, but okay.
Okay, okay. The first one is, if you were to write an autobiography, what would its title be?
Oh man, I think that would be the title. Oh man would probably be the title. Okay. ...
Very
the
like concise.
Of, whatever, whoever.
Okay, very interesting name. Uske alawa, worst client experience.
Oh man, we have never had a bad client experience.
No bad
I want
client.
this to be on the record. All clients are great, and we love them all equally.
Okay,
like
that is such a diplomatic answer.
Yeah.
So, what fictional character would you be if you could like tell us? Like out of like cartoons, movies, anything, books. What fictional character would you see yourself as?
Yeah, I feel like my job requires that I say something like Batman or something. But Batman's nice.
Batman's nice.
Yeah. But so like अगर मैं मिकी माउस टाइप कहूँगा तो ज़रा अजीब सा लगेगा. So
like CEO, vigilante.
हाँ सही है ना, like fits the whole thing. You
Fits
just need a little insomnia, but yeah, Batman should.
बाकी सब सही है. Okay, Batman fits. Okay. Okay, so last question. What can you tell us something interesting about your co-founder?
Oh,
You can tell us more things, more than one.
Acha, could tell you so much, man. Lekin I think the most interesting thing about him is that he's an Aegysonian, and that kind of packs a punch. So yeah, let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
I mean, you can.
What school are you from?
Yeah,
JT?
I just went to this public school that I went to.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. You wouldn't even know. But I'm a Luminite, man. उसके बाद मैं gentrify हो गया. मैंने अब अंग्रेजी सीख ली.
Okay, सही ठीक है. So one last thing we do is we ask our guests like what department would they be in LES. ठीक है. So instead of letting you answer because I know it might be biased, we have a quiz for you two. It's very short, so you can just do it and like tell us what answer you get. Okay, let me just open it. It's very short, like 6 questions. I just want to see.
Okay.
What department would you be? I'm
do
pretty
I have
sure.
to do this rapidly?
Yes. इस तरह से.
Oh, मैं तो best हूँ.
I'm sure that department will feel very honored. लेकिन अगर media होए तो I think it's better.
Okay. If your future professions could be one of these, oh ये तो हमने कर लिया. Motivation speaker, no. IT specialist, of course. Should I read these out loud or should
You
I
can.
just? Okay. No, I don't think so. Workshop hosting. I did that in my freshman year for the Olympiad. Presentation making, no, hate that. Arranging guest speakers, ये भी workshop hosting में मैं कर रहा था. Sponsor on board, that didn't work out so well. Arranging guest speakers.
I think I see where this is going.
Yeah. हमने अली ज़फ़र को बुलाया था for a music workshop and he brought this like harmonium thing and it was actually pretty cool, and as soon as he started doing that classical music thing, half the room just kind of walked out. Yeah, because that was the Channo era and they weren't expecting that at all. Okay. Seed money. Interesting. Can this actually happen?
I mean, हो सकता है.
Decorating your workspace. Ab like, this is a trick question, right? Building a strong team, resources, website. Building a strong team. That has really worked out for us. Skills that you possess.
Just take as many as you can. Like, not all of them.
इसमें कोई वो NA वाली ऑप्शन नहीं है?
नहीं NA वाली नहीं है. कुछ ना कुछ होना चाहिए.
So this is okay. Analytical ability. Oh man. Innovation. Crisis management. I do that, I think. Content writing, of course.
Future writer, so.
Yeah. Improvisation. Is this the being on stage and improvising thing?
I think any sort of improvisation.
हाँ, other sorts हो जाते हैं. Tact. Really, really heavy on tact.
I think you just checked everything.
बस ये हाँ मेरे ख्याल से सब कुछ ही होने वाला है, but ये चीज़ें छोड़ देते हैं. Which of these? Oh, this is a case study.
Oh no, these are scenarios.
अच्छा सही है.
ये बस skim read करके जो मीडिया वाला वो टेक.
इसके बाद मुझे McKinsey में नौकरी चाहिए. But not yet paid. No, my partner likes to engage in these. Website, no. Call the principal of a school to invite. Not only refuses, but they also act very rudely. Yeah, principals do that all the time. Judge came for a round. Do this all the time. Oh, नहीं ये आगे जा रहा है. Sorry, अभी मैं पढ़ रहा था. But I got human resources.
Okay, that is a surprise. I did not think you'd get that.
Yeah, I really shouldn't. half your team is probably going to leave.
No,
But
no,
yeah.
they won't. But okay, so this basically concludes the podcast, and I hope you had a wonderful time here. It was an honor having you here. So before we end, do you have any words of advice for our viewers?
Yeah, huh? So, I mean, lots of advice again, like you could leave me in this room and I'll just keep talking to myself. But I think just just focus on, you know, what value you can add or how you can, you know, make things a little bit better, regardless of where you are. So you don't have to be an entrepreneur, you don't have to be anything, you don't have to be the loudest person in the room, you don't have to even be recognized too much too quickly. चीज़ें होती हैं and everything adds up. And I feel like I think one of the key things that I learned from this book by Scott Adams, that I've forgotten the name now, but it's a funny name. And Scott Adams is basically the creator of this comic called Dilbert. And उसने basically यही कहता है कि just focus on the process, right? So focus on how can you be, and this is the premise for Atomic Habits as well.
Oh,
You should
okay,
give that a
okay.
read. काफी मजे किया है. कि like just focus on being like, you know, 1% better every day. You know?
Okay.
And as long as you're doing that, तो वो बस आप करते जाओ. Don't worry too much about कि क्या हो रहा है. When will the payoff be?
दूसरे किधर जा रहे हैं, just focus on yourself.
Just focus on yourself and just be a little bit better. Be kind to people and have the right kind of, you know, motivation and the right kind of intentions. So, and you will eventually at some point, maybe soon, maybe, you know, a lot later, realize you're much better off, and you know, people will thank you for it. Or even if they don't, it doesn't matter because you're a better person. So I think that's the important thing. Baki, forget about labels, forget about startups and entrepreneurship or, you know, investment or this तरह की चीज़ें. Everyone charts out their own path. There's no one size fits all किस्म का recipe for everybody. So yeah, I think that would be it.
Okay, ठीक है, that is some like inspiration for us. Now I shall be 1% better every day. My ADs will try and see if I am. Okay, but that concludes. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you so much. It was actually an honor for me to be invited. And I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. And like I've been coming to the stuff that you guys are doing at LES for the last year or two post COVID, and it's fantastic. और हर दफ़ा काफ़ी ज़बरदस्त किस्म का experience होता है. And just keep up the good work, and you know, I'm sure you'll add a lot of value to society.
ठीक है, thank you. Okay, so I think we're done, but officially done. But before you leave, अभी बाहर से मार कर लेते हैं. Please sign a mug.
If you know, you know. Fun fact and memory lane वाला scene कि जब हम लम्स में थे तो LES